Faith Debate, where we talk about matters of faith, science, and religion in a fair and open-minded forum. So today's question is, what was the first cause? So picture this, you're walking down a garden path, and on the ground you see something silvery and a little bit of black on it, and you pick it up and you go, it appears to be some sort of communication device. And you'd look at it and you'd see that, you push a button and it lights up, and it has all of these complicated features, and that kind of thing doesn't just burst out of existence. Like, you'd hardly see a stone on the road transforming into a fully formed mobile phone. So you look at that and you say, okay, that has to have had a creator or a designer. So by logical extension, everything has to sort of have a creator or a designer, and so you sort of regress back further and further into the past until you get to the very, very beginning of the universe. And you say that the universe as well had to have a creator or a designer, and that creator is God. Or it's what we would define God as. It was the first cause that brought the universe into being. Okay, so where do I stand on this? Well, there's two ways that I would tend to look at this. The first way is just looking at it from a logical perspective. And what I mean by that is, you're assuming that matter cannot come into being, or at least complicated matter cannot come into being. It needs a creator. And so you're positing a first cause, and that's God. But the difficulty with this approach is that you're assuming that matter cannot come into being, and then you're inventing a brand new type of matter that you're calling God that's immune to this particular axiom. There's no reason you should logically be able to do that, because if you do presuppose that there are some kinds of matter that are immune to this argument, then why does the universe have to be like that? If we assume that all of the axioms are to be true, that matter cannot create itself, that matter has to be created by a creator, then we have a problem, because that means that God, who is more complicated than the universe, by the rationale of this argument, has to have a more complicated creator. And so on. And so on, and so on, ad nauseum. Now, the second way that I would look at this is looking into the actual validity of the axioms. And this would be taking a slightly more scientific approach than a logical or a philosophical one. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, first of all, from a scientific point of view, the idea that things cannot spontaneously come into being might not necessarily be true. And the reason for this is quantum mechanics. It predicts that even in a vacuum, there is what's called zero-point energy. Basically, there's a minimum amount of energy. You can't sort of have zero energy at any given point. In a vacuum, that could be explained by the spontaneous production and annihilation of particle-antiparticle pairs. And in a vacuum, matter and antimatter is spontaneously produced, and then once it annihilates itself within a particularly small time interval called the Planck time. And an experimental confirmation of that would be Hawking radiation, the radiation that is, or should be seen being emitted from black holes. So why bring that up? Well, basically, this is just showing that the axioms that are presented in this question aren't necessarily true. And so that means we need to question the validity of this argument, the validity of these axioms. Now, it could be true that we do need a first cause or a first mover, and that's fine. But even if there were some sort of supernatural force that kick-started the universe, there's no way to logically extrapolate back from that to a God that intervenes in our universe and grants prayers and listens to our thoughts and sends people to heaven and hell and this, that, and the other. So what do you think? Do you think that the argument from first cause is an ironclad proof that there should be a God? Or do you think that my refutation of the argument was merely a straw man? If you do, please point out my fallacy in the comment section down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and this has been Faith Debate, and I hope you have a nice evening.